Radio TV Phono Nut here, and what we have is an RCA Scholastic schoolroom phonograph from about 1962 based on date codes. Now this is RCA in name only. I'm pretty sure this was actually built by Waters Conley, who also built record players for Zenith and Sears, and yes, I said Zenith. A lot of manufacturers found out it was cheaper just to farm out the production of their little portable record players than it was for them to build them in-house. And apparently RCA thought the same thing with these institutional players. But anyway, this is a 4-speed model, uses a 3-tube series string amplifier, nothing really special. It's not in the greatest cosmetic shape. You can see we have some rust on the hardware. Somebody painted the lid black, but they didn't paint the rest of it. I figure the reason they painted the lid was to hide all of the school ID markings that were on it. The record player has the usual, or had the usual drive mechanism problems. I've already taken all of that apart and cleaned it and lubricated it, and that's working good. The amplifier works on all original parts, but I will go over it. If there's any key capacitors that are leaky, I'll go ahead and change them, and I might go ahead and put a polarized line cord on here. The switch is already in the hot side of the line, so it won't be any problem doing that. This has one knob missing. The other knob is broken and about to fall off, so I've got to dig through my junk to find a knob. The cartridge is one of the standard Static 89T plug-in varieties, and it's about shot. But these cartridges are getting kind of scarce and expensive, and I say all that to lead up to this. This is something I dug out of the pile while I was cleaning out, and it's probably not going to stay here. It's probably going to be going to another home. But like I said in a recent video, I'm dumping eBay for, just suffice it to say, it's getting to be more of a hassle than it's worth. So this thing will likely either end up being dropped off at the thrift store, put on the baby clothes and cell phones off Facebook pages for $15 or $20, or it will probably just languish there until I get pissed off that nobody's responding, and then I'll drop it off at the thrift store. Or it may just hang around here, I don't know, but what I'm getting at is I'm not going to do a full-blown restoration on this thing just to put it up for sale on Facebook Marketplace and might get 10, 15, maybe 20 bucks out of it if I'm lucky. I'm sure I already have more than that in this anyway, and of course I'll have more than that in it when I'm finished with it. But like I've said in the past, people around here, they expect one to be in perfect A1 condition for $10 or $20. And I hate to tell them, but it don't work that way. As far as the cartridge, I think I have a lightly used dual LP tipped one. I might put that in here and let it go, but I don't have but one or two LP78 varieties left, and I'm not going to let one of those go on a $15 or $20 record player. Heck, the cartridge would cost more than that. If somebody gets this and wants to play 78s on it, they can just go buy one of the green ones that's currently available that plays 78s only. Alright, here's our capacitor complement. We have this electrolytic. There's no filter hum, but I will check it just to make sure it's not weak. The filtering part of it is probably good, but the low voltage cathode bypass section may be dried out. This green mica mold is connected between circuit ground and chassis. We'll have to check that. This Sprague cap with the red printing on it connects between the plate of the 12AV6 and the grid of the 50C5. I think the ones with the red printing are the diafilm types, and those are usually still okay. There's another Sprague back there that has yellow printing on it, or I think that's a Sprague. I can't see the logo on it that well, but I want to say those are paper, but that one just couples the cartridge to the volume control, so no real issue there. We got a couple of Goodalls here, plastic case jobs, 0.1 at 200 volts. That's in the tone control circuit. And the other one I think is some kind of feedback in the feedback loop, so might want to pull one end of those loose and check them for leakage. But what I'm saying is I'm not going all out on this. You know, we're going to do just what needs to be done and send it on its way. Okay, chassis isolation capacitor. Yep, that capacitor is leaky. So we need to replace that. Alright, coupling capacitor for the audio output tube. Very, very leaky. Well, this thing may have just signed its death warrant. I don't have to explain what happened, you can see. And it didn't take much effort to break it either, which means somebody else has likely been diddling with this. Since there's enough stub left, I'm going to solder it back. We're going to put our new capacitor on there, and we're not going to worry about it. Alright, I see evidence this capacitor was replaced before. You see, this is our resistor, this is our capacitor, and this here is something that formerly was there, likely the old capacitor that they just snipped off and put the other one through the hole on the terminal here. So yeah, no wonder it broke off so easily. Somebody else had already been twisting and pulling on it. Okay, there it is. Not the proper way to fix it. The proper way would have been to have replaced the tube socket. But like I said, I'm not going to all that effort on this. So we just put some solder on what was left of the old terminal, blobbed up some solder on the new terminal, joined them together, heated it up, held it in place while it cooled, and there, that's that. Alright, tone control capacitor. I know this tester is a bit sensitive, and sometimes that light will blink at very slow intervals on capacitors that are not leaky. So this one may actually be okay. Okay, that capacitor is only rated for 200 volts, and it seems to be okay. The one under it is an identical type capacitor, and like I said, looks to be in a feedback loop, and I'm not even going to bother taking it loose. This one here just simply couples the output of the cartridge to the volume control. Oftentimes that capacitor is not even included in some record players, so I'm not even going to bother with it either. Or excuse me, what did I say? Yeah, that one does connect the cartridge to the volume control. This other cap connects the volume control to the control grid of the 12AT6 or whatever it is. And that looks like a possible replacement, and those types of caps are generally okay. So I'm going to check the electrolytics, and then we're going to call it a day with it. Alright, cathode bypass cap, 25 microfarad, that's about right. At least it's not dried out anyway. And the power supply filters, I'm not even going to bother checking them. The record player was operating without hum, and like I said, I'm not interested in going very deep with this. See, I wonder how many people will freak out because I didn't change the electrolytic here. Well, we'll just leave it at this. If it goes bad under my watch, I'll replace it. If it goes bad under somebody else's watch and they want me to replace it, I'll replace it. And if they don't want me to replace it, then, well, I guess I'll probably never find out that it went bad, will I? But yeah, I can see it now. I sell this to somebody on the Facebook, baby clothes, and cell phone pages for $10, and then 6 months from now, when that filter decides to open up, they'll be bringing it back over here, wanting it fixed for free. Well, I know it wasn't guaranteed, but I paid you $10 for that. Should have lasted more than 6 months. And I know you think I'm joking with that, and I guess I was semi-joking, but seriously, there are some people today with that mentality. I call it the Walmart mentality, and they probably would try a stunt like that. You know, they're so conditioned that they can just take anything back to Walmart, even though they didn't buy it there. And yeah, I had a neighbor that pulled that crap too. She worked at Walmart, so she kind of had an idea what certain things cost. She'd go to Big Lots, and if she found the same item at Big Lots for less than what Walmart sold it for, she'd buy the item at Big Lots and then take it back to Walmart and tell them that she received it as a gift and didn't want it, and she would get the full Walmart price back. Now, you know, people like that, I couldn't pull a stunt like that. And people who do pull it, sooner or later, they're going to get what's coming to them. Other day, someone on one of the hi-fi groups on Facebook was gloating about how he bought a cassette deck off of eBay that was advertised as untested. Now, to a normal person, that you would take it to mean that it has not been tested, it may work, and it may not work, but be prepared for it not to work. Well, he bought it, and it didn't work. He opened a item not as described claim or whatever with eBay, and they sided with him and made the seller refund his money, and he was on there gloating about it and urging other people to do the same thing. Well, needless to say, me and a bunch of others told him where to get off, and it eventually got so out of hand that they deleted the post, and I think they booted him out of the group. And that's another reason I'm kind of sour towards eBay. When I sell something to somebody, and when it says in the listing, as is, no refunds, no returns, no warranty, then that's the way it ought to be. If you don't like it, then don't buy it. But these scammers know that eBay's got their back, and all they have to do is whine about they don't like it or it don't work or some crap like that, and then eBay's going to side with them. And yes, it happened to me one time by a zero feedback scamming witch, and I should have just dumped eBay then. Here I was with a stellar feedback record that went back several years, but here they go siding with some zero feedback witch. eBay's explanation is, well, it's just the cost of doing business, deal with it. Well, you big power sellers that you have on there might can take hits like that. The little guys like me and all of the ones that made eBay what it is can't afford to take hits like that, but we all know the little guys is what eBay wants to run off anyway, and they're doing a pretty good job of that. Oh yeah, and I also had to patch the speaker cone. It had a rip in it. As you can see, this has two speakers. Looks like about a 5-inch and a 4-inch wired in parallel. Alright, we're about ready to put it back together and try it. Now this headphone jack was not original. I've never seen one of these that had a headphone jack, but a lot of schools wanted the ability to either connect these things to external speakers or to connect them to those 6 or 8 or 10 or 12, however many they were, headset and listening stations that were a group of students could all sit down and listen to the recording without disturbing the rest of the classroom. Oh yeah, and there used to be a cover on the bottom of this too that's obviously missing. Likely whoever worked on this failed to put it back on. Now, the version of this that I wished I'd have kept was one I had from 1959 that was in a green cabinet and was in better shape than this. And although I've never seen one personally, I think there was an older version that used octal tubes, and that's the one that I would really like to have because the octal tube amplifiers seem to be made better and hold up better. The sockets certainly don't crumble apart like the miniature sockets do. Well, we're not getting any tone control action, which Come to think of it, we weren't getting any of that before we started working on it, so we need to pull this thing back off and see what's up with that. Alright, I swapped out the cartridge, and that helps tremendously. Except, of course, when you bump into the record player. Alright, let's open it back up and see why this tone control is inoperative. Okay, that cap should have been on the center terminal. It was on the bottom terminal here. And I'm really not too crazy about this type of tone control circuit, because not only does it, pretty much all it does is attenuates the treble, and not only does it do that, it also attenuates the signal. So when you turn it towards the bass position, the volume gets softer. And I believe that's the way the other one I had from 65 was. I've had 3 of these. This one from 62, the newer one from 65, and one from 59, and I think all 3 of them were that way. Alright, we're back together, except for putting the screws back in, but this pot is a bit flaky. It tries to cut out towards the bass position. But, like I've said a few times already, this is one that probably going to sell cheap, and when you're getting something for $15 or $20, then you really ain't in no position to complain about it. I'm going to find a knob to put on this, and that's going to be the end of it. It's already in better shape than a lot of so-called working things that I see for sale on various sites that are priced a lot higher. And these are the ones who likely worked on this thing. For service or sales, call your audio visual headquarters, Audio Fidelity Corporation, Roanoke, Virginia. That probably dates from the 70s, I would guess, maybe 80s, but doesn't really look to be any older than that. But we also know that a lot of schools use these old record players for ages. I know at my elementary school in the 1980s there were still plenty of them floating around from the 1960s that were still in service. Okay. That takes care of that. Now with this polarized power cord, as long as it's plugged into an outlet that's wired correctly, you won't feel that sensation when you touch the metal tone arm that so many people complain about. And you won't get the crap knocked out of you if part of your body happens to be in contact with something that has a return path to ground when you touch these metal parts. Now, as far as RCA scholastic school record players go, like I've said before, these were actually made by Waters Conley, but I know there were some later solid-state RCA school record players that were actually made by RCA. In fact, I have a couple of them. One's a stereo model and one is a mono model, but both of them have RCA drive mechanisms in them. They're actually, I guess you could call them a stripped-down version of an RCA record changer, as in an RCA record changer without all of the automatic parts and modified for manual operation. Both of them are in plastic cases. The stereo model has detachable speakers, but the speakers got busted all to heck and back because of poor packing from Goodwill. So when I get that one fixed, I'm going to have to build some wooden enclosures to mount the speakers in. Alright, there you go. See, when you turn it towards the bass position, it pretty much kills the audio. Like I've said for the umpteenth time, I'm not worried about it. It still plays better than this crap that these people go goo goo gaga over. You know, the stuff that has the Crosley and the Victrola names on them. You know, they go goo goo gaga over them because they're in such a little artsy keechy looking cabinet. You know, it's what all the hipsters have. It doesn't matter that they sound like crap when, you know, they could buy something like this that even as decrepit and whatnot as it is, it's still a better record player than this crap they could buy new.